Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to the fourth part of the first Star Trek marathon. Um, I know I made two videos yesterday. If you didn't check out the second video, it was actually all about me getting my copy of Star Trek 6: The Undiscovered Country because I didn't have it before. So now I legit now have all the Star Trek films on Blu-ray. But yeah, I made a short, quick little video about that. Um, But now I'm going to be talking about which is one of the most financially successful Star Trek films ever, and that is Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home, uh, released on November 26th, 1986, directed by Leonard Nimoy once again, who obviously directed Star Trek 3, and um, to me personally, it's not as good as Star Trek 3, but I still think it's a really good Star Trek film. Um, and granted, it was successful enough to get like the most successful one out of all of the Star Trek films at the time, which led to the creation of Star Trek: The Next Generation, season one, only a year after this film came out. Um, and obviously, the first season isn't the best. In fact, it's probably considered to be one of the worst, and not if not the worst season of the TNG. Um, but it's still this film still led up to that, and I'm honestly grateful for that because even though the first season wasn't that good, it still led up to a fantastic series of seven seasons, and obviously with the feature films, which to be honest, most of them aren't that good. Um, but yeah, it led on to this was the film that basically saved the Star Trek franchise. I mean, yeah, granted, Star Trek 2 and 3 did good, but they weren't like successful films. Uh, like for like to basically keep the franchise stable. But this film, with how successful it was, it kind of led on to like TNG and Deep Space Nine and Voyager, and um, it kind of just made it way more successful. So, anyways, let's stop jabbering about what this film did do, and talk about what the film was all about. So, so yeah, let's get started. So this was made on a budget of $24 million, and domestically it made $109 million worldwide. Domestically and worldwide, it made 133 million. So that is huge numbers for a Star Trek film. Which, if you guys may remember previously, I mean, yeah, granted, Star Trek the Motion Picture did very well, but that is considered to be kind of a just a mediocre to lackluster film. Even though it did make like $109 million worldwide, it didn't really do that well because of its big budget. Um, Granted, Star Trek 2 and 3 did good, but again, it's only like 97 and 87 million. This was big when it came out, and I can totally see why. Um, and this was directed by Leonard Nimoy, who you guys may remember as directing The Search for Spock, which I think is a pretty good Star Trek film, and I also think that this film is pretty good. Um, Not as good as 3 in my opinion, but a noteworthy successor to this film, and it concludes the trilogy, starting off with Wrath of Khan, continuing on with the Search for Spock, and ending with the Voyage Home. Because the next film, Final Frontier, is kind of a self-contained film. Um, so, anyways, let's get on to the plot. Living in exile on the planet Vulcan, the ragtag former crew of the USS Enterprise take the stolen Klingon ship after receiving a planetary distress call from Earth. A space probe has entered Earth into orbit around Earth, disabled global power on the planet, and eventually the oceans. Oh, and evaporating the oceans. Captain Kirk, played by William Shatner, Spock, played by Leonard Nimoy, and the rest of the crew of the Enterprise travel back in time to retrieve now extinct humpback whales, which Spock has deducted will communicate with the probe and send it away from Earth. Um, so, like I said, I don't think this is as good as 3, but I still think this is a very good Star Trek film. Honestly, if I had to rank them, I would probably put this under 3, but certainly not anywhere near like Insurrection or 5. Um, so let's talk about the new cast members that are in this film. So we have Catherine Hicks as Dr. Gillian Taylor. She's the person that kind of unknowingly shows Kirk and Spock the whales, and which leads to probably the most funniest scene in the film, where Spock jumps into the tank to try and mind meld um with the whales, and it kind of gets a blasphemy reaction from everyone, including Kirk, where he's just like, "What are you doing? Like, you're not supposed to just jump in the tank and just start mind melding with them with everyone watching you." Um, but yeah, Catherine Hicks, is she's a pretty good actor in this film, or actress, I should say, and she's more well known, recognized from she's recognized from this, but also from the horror classic Child's Play, which is obviously the debut feature film for Chucky. Will I be talking about this film probably around Halloween, but that's for future video. Um, but yeah, she's well known for Star Trek 4 and Child's Play, and I could see why. She is a very good actress. She could pull off the comedy very well, and also pull off her being terrified in Child's Play. Um, she's a very good actress, and I'm. It's unfortunate that I don't really see her doing that much work anymore. Um, and honestly, I don't really recognize her from anything else except for Star Trek 4 and Child's Play. Jane Wyatt as Amanda Grayson, also basically the mother of Mr. Spock, and Mark Leonard also returns as Sarek. Um, they, both play very good roles. Granted, I think only Amanda's in one scene, and that's like near the beginning of the film. Um, Mark Leonard is at Starfleet HQ trying to figure out the trial for Captain Kirk, for obviously still in the Enterprise in 3. Um, and trying to, stop the Klingon from saying that he's, an enemy to the Federation or to the Klingon Empire. Robin Curtis returns as Savick, but only for basically a bit part in this film compared to her much bigger role in 3. Now, the reasoning for basically her cameo in the film, I'm not sure, but I know a certain fact about the details um, and why she was like in the film context, why she's left on Vulcan. I don't know if this is mentioned in like any of like the comic books or like the novelization, if there even is a novelization of the film, but from one of the early scripts, from what I read, during the whole Pon farr scene in Star Trek 3 when Spock is like a teenager, um, that led to Savick actually being pregnant with Spock's child, and that's why she's unfortunately had to be left on Vulcan so that she can give birth to the baby, and take care of her, or take care of it, I should say, because the gender isn't really specified in the script, but obviously that was cut. So basically, Kirk's just saying we 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 don't want you here, which is um kind of sucks, because I honestly think that she could have done a better, or she could have been expanded on more Robert Kirsch's Savick in this film, but that's how it is. And we have the first appearance of Admiral Cartwright, played by Brock Peters, who you may recognize more from Star Trek 6: The Undiscovered Country, but I'll talk about more about him in that video. Um, But anyways, he shows up in this film trying to figure out the what's going on with the Earth and stuff like that. Um, so and like trying to let everyone calm down and trying to figure out what's going on. And so yeah. Um, so the music for this film, uh, James Horner did not return for this film because I believe around the time that they were working on Star Trek 4, there was a film called Aliens coming out, and he was hired on for that film as the film's composer. So he unfortunately did not return for this film. He is replaced by Leonard Rosenman, where I think for this film, I think he does a pretty good job at the music for this film. Especially the fact that this is basically more of a comedy per se than like the previous two films, which were a lot more darker than I would say like a typical TOS episode. But this one is more uh, like like I said, more like this is more like a typical TOS episode. So kind of the more uplifting music from like kind of TOS kind of thing. Not the exact music, but kind of uplifting kind of music from TOS is kind of like what they use in this film, and I really think it suits the film. Um, and so yeah. Um, so yeah. So the fun fact. Well, I guess I technically have two since I already mentioned. I kind of mentioned a fun fact about why Savick doesn't return really for this film. But I guess the main fun fact that I have, which isn't really a fun fact if you actually kind of look into it a bit, is well, did you know that the opening dedication to the men and women of the spaceship Challenger is real? So yes, unfortunately, there is a before I think even before the Paramount logo shows up, there is there's a dedication for it that says like for the men in this the crew of the crew and cast of Star Trek dedicates this film to the men and women of the USS Challenger. And if you guys don't know about this, um, the USS Challenger, unfortunately, shortly after it lifted off on January 28th, 1986, it lifted off, and shortly after it exploded, killing everyone on board. And I think it's uh, I think it's a shame that that happened, and I'm glad that the cast and crew um, dedicated them in that respects because I think honestly they were kind of the one like not like saying that they're responsible for it, not at all, but I'm saying like it's they were kind of responsible for them to go like, hey, let's build a ship and go like up in space, and so they obviously tried to do that, and they're no longer with us, and that's very unfortunate. Um, Unfortunately, when I first was watching this on on the film pack that I have, which actually I'll grab that right now. Alright, guys, I'm back. So, the way I used to watch the original series and the TNG films were on these little collection sets right here to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Star Trek as a whole. So, I got both the original series collection right here, um, you know, and obviously I have the TNG collection both on DVD and Blu-ray, which is actually underneath. I'll pull that out right now. And like the TNG collection. Um, which actually the reason why I got this collection was because it was only like $15 at like a Black Friday. So I'm like, yes. And so I'm like, well, what's the point of getting the Blu-ray collection of the TOS collection when I'm already have 1 through 3 separately, so I could just get the other ones. Um, but anyways, when I first watched it, I honestly thought that the dedication was talking about because near the beginning of the film, it shows um, the USS Saratoga being affected by the probe, and I honestly thought that that ship was the USS Challenger, and they were saying that they died. Um, well, actually, I don't think it was the USS Saratoga because I think that ship was saved. I think they were talking about in the film because obviously the original Enterprise was destroyed in 3. So how are they gonna get another starship that isn't a Klingon ship? So they use I forgot what the name was called, but it was something like USS something. It wasn't the USS Challenger. Um, they used there was another Constitution refit class ship that was being affected by them, and I think honestly the crew died, which is kind of unfortunate. So um, they renamed that ship to the USS Enterprise NCC 1701A, which is the ship I have right here. This is the obviously the Diamond Select version, which you guys haven't seen the video. It's a video I made like a year or two ago when I unboxed this for the first time, and you could tell how much my voice changed between that video and this video, or especially if you're watching this stuff now. But yeah, I think honestly the reveal of the Enterprise A is my favorite scene in the whole film because it's like suspenseful because it first shows the Excelsior and it's like, oh my god, are we gonna get the Excelsior and not like get another ship named Enterprise, and then it lowers the show the Enterprise A, and I think that's a very nice way. And my favorite line in the film is Kirk saying, "My friends, welcome home," or "We've come home." And I think that's very uplifting. But anyways, I'm keep on getting off track. But I thought that one of the ships that was being affected in this film was called the USS Challenger, and I thought they were talking about how the crew in the film died, like the characters died, and they were commemorating it to that, not knowing that they were talking about the real life space crew of the Challenger that died. Um, but it's really sad that they're not with us anymore. So I guess in this video, even though I can't put it up because of copyright reasons, I guess I would also dedicate this video to to the men and women of the USS Challenger. Um, but yeah, so I already talked about the composer. Um, so yeah, so that was my review of Star Trek for the Voyage Home. This is probably gonna be my shortest review so far. Um, I give like I said, I give this I would put this slightly lower than 3, just in my personal opinion. But actually, hold up, I just realized what you're probably talking about. You know, the editions that came out. So this is the 2009 release because I don't know if they actually released the 2013 release. I'm not sure on that. Cause here, this is Star Trek 5 is a 2013 release, so you could tell the difference between the two. Cause the 2009 releases have like this thing under it. So, oh, it's like critics what they said. So, this is from Roger Ebert when it came out. It said one of the Star Trek stories, the funniest and most enjoyable. And then, with the 2013 releases, they obviously removed that so that you can actually see more of the picture at the bottom. Um, and then the sides, so the Star Trek 5, because it's like a yellowish kind of thing. So on the side, the Star Trek insignia is a yellow, like it's all yellow. You can see it right there. But with the 2009 releases, they have the insignia silver, but with like a little sheen on it. That's the color of the Blu-ray. So this one's obviously like a turquoise kind of thing. So the reflections or like the little shines are turquoise, and then the backs are basically the same as between like both versions, except for obviously the copyright and so forth. Um, but yeah, so these 2009 releases come with like um, these little DVD guides. It's like BD Live User Guide, and talking about get connected with Live BD Live. Download exclusive Star Trek content to your Blu-ray player. Um, I don't think. Well, I don't think I'm gonna be able to download it onto my Blu-ray player because this is obviously used. Because since it obviously did not come in shrink wrap. 6 might actually, since as obviously as you guys saw in the video, this did come in a shrink wrap. So I mean, I don't know. So um, so yeah. I don't. I think there might be 2013 releases of 4 and 6, because the only ones that you could see and you can buy online are the 2009 releases. So I don't even know if you can actually buy the 2013 releases without paying stupid amounts of money. Which actually, hold up, I just realized. So obviously, this is the film that introduced the Enterprise A. But so yeah, on the front it has the Enterprise A, but on the back, if you actually look at the registry, it says NCC 1701. Hold up, let me try and get that a little bit more steady. Um, even though this was the film that, even though the original Enterprise was destroyed in 3, so I don't know. So yeah, but I give this film a 7 out of 10. Like I said, I think it's slightly. I think I think Star Trek 3 is a little bit better. But I don't think it's bad at all. That's gonna be for next time when we're gonna be talking about the worst one out of the original series films. We're gonna be talking about Star Trek 5: The Final Frontier, which at first I thought it was a guilty pleasure, but I guess we'll see when I start when I do the review tomorrow. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for tomorrow's video where I'm gonna be talking about Star Trek 5: The Final Frontier, where we will probably find God. I don't know. Live long and prosper. Out.